Is this thing on? Welcome back to the Diamond Download. How's it going, Chase?
Dude, I'm fantastic, man. How are you doing, brother?
Are you fantastic?
It was an epic weekend, which we'll talk about shortly, but it was an insane weekend.
Really? Okay, cool, man. I'm very excited to hear this. I mean, I mean, as always, we have banger topics. Like probably, I would say more so than usual. But I want to hear about this weekend first. What made it? Why are you fantastic?
Yeah, I'm stoked for the topics today. Real quick, so I went to this weekend. I went to this weekend. I went to a wedding over the weekend. We're gonna leave that in there, dude. The consensus was that they spent probably $1 to $2 million on this wedding. It was unreal, like the most
What?
insane weekend at a wedding I've ever been to. It was a blast.
Who got married?
I knew you were gonna ask that. I can't say who. It was one of my cousins. I don't want to give it away since I mentioned how much they spent. They didn't tell me that, by the way. This is the consensus of all the guests. I went around to people I knew, and people were asking me how much you think they spent, and everyone said minimum of one, probably upwards of 2 million, and it was just unreal. It was at Pebble Beach, great weather. The flow of events was fantastic. They had an after party till like 1 a.m. where they were serving like pizza and burgers and ice cream sandwiches. They basically built something on one of the holes of the course that shut down Pebble Beach course, which is like one of the most famous courses in the world. They had it basically one of the holes shut down for them, and it was kind of funny. Like my uncle was on a tour bus. They didn't know the tour bus had guests of the wedding, and they're like, "Oh well, some rich people are building this facility for the wedding that's never been done before." So they just pulled off things that were like never done before because they have connections and money. It was wild.
So it was fun.
It was a blast, dude. Got to golf, spent a bunch of time going to really nice dinners and events and weddings. We got a party on the pier. It was fantastic.
Do you ever wish that you got to get married when you were like worth 60 million? Because I know you've been married for what, like five years now?
Yeah, we literally just celebrated our 5 year anniversary like almost at this wedding. So my wife and I were
Okay.
talking about like what we would have done differently because we definitely balled on a budget. We probably spent, I don't know, around 60 to 70K on our wedding like 5 years ago. I think the same wedding now probably would be around 100 just because things have gone up so much. But at the time, like, we didn't have that much money when we were planning it, right? We started planning it like 6.5 years ago. We didn't have that much money. We paid for it ourselves. So we were talking about like what we would have done differently or not. And it probably would be a little bit different, but I loved our wedding. It was super wholesome. We had like food trucks. We had like a pizza guy making pizzas on wood fire ovens. And people still talk about like our wedding to this day. So I don't know. Part of me probably would change it, but I also love the wedding that we had.
Yeah, don't people do that? Like, can't you get like you can like redo your vows or something like that? Is
Yeah, a
that a
lot of people
thing?
do it like at 20, 30 or something like that. You could kind of redo it if you wanted to, but I don't know. I love the way that ours turned out. Before we hop into the topic, how was your weekend?
My weekend was good. What did I do this weekend? Oh, my mom and my grandma came down to Miami. It was actually
Sick.
super fun. They flew in Thursday. My grandma has never been to Miami. She's like kind of been a homebody for a while. Like she's been dealing with like she got a bunch of siblings and they're all a little bit sick, and
Okay.
so she kind of just hasn't really had any like time to herself for a while, or like fun time, right? She hasn't really done shit. And so I flew them both down, put them up in a hotel kind of around here,
Cool.
and we had a great little weekend. So Thursday night they got in. I didn't see them, and then Friday it was me and my mom, my grandma, and my girl. We all went to this restaurant called Casadonna.
Okay.
It's this really nice like Italian place, like over there, like 50 minutes down, like near Edgewater. Um, the thing I love about restaurants in Miami, bro, is like they don't. You know how like a lot of places you go to, maybe in more like small towns or whatever, just looks like an IKEA. Like there's just not much done inside. Like they try and make it like this minimalist thing. Restaurants in Miami, a lot of these really nice places are like maximalist places. Like this is an Italian place. It looks like your rich Nona's home. You know what I mean? Like imagine if your Nona had like 100 million to put towards like a facility or like a house. It's got like really
Nuts.
nice like blue carpets. It's got like art all over the walls, really high ceiling chandeliers. Like it's just really well done. And the food was great. Then the next day I sent all the women to Design District with my credit card and I made them go shop, buy some stuff.
That's dangerous.
So my grandma got like a nice scarf, and then my mom got a Gucci bag. So yeah, they had fun, bro.
Dude, amazing.
Mm,
All right, well, I love the catching up, but I'm even more stoked for these topics. Let's start. Let's do it.
yeah, me too. So, first thing I got is the Jeremy Haynes. Do you know Jeremy Haynes?
Yeah, you mentioned him before. I've seen him online, and I know he's legit, primarily in the info space. Is that right?
I would go so far as to say that he is one of the like he's on the info Mount Rushmore. And he's not even like an influencer. Like he has a bit of an audience online. Like he's got Twitter and Instagram, but he's not like really selling anything. He's got like an inner circle mastermind that I'm in, but he has helped some of the biggest people in the space like scale to crazy 8-figure a year numbers.
Wow.
And he's just a master with paid. And he has this thing that he sent me called the Tornado Ad Strategy. Have you heard of that before?
No, I'm intrigued though. What is it?
So, I mean, this is really for anybody with a personal brand who has a ton of content online that like has a program that's been doing well already. It's already sort of like tested and verified that it works. So, what influencers are doing with ads, and when I say influencers, I just mean like coaching program owners, like personal brands. Um, so, influencers have these massive banks of content, right? Like, let's say they've been doing Instagram for like 5 years and TikTok for 2 years, and they have YouTube and stuff and everything like all online, and they've made 5 to 10 million with info, like just selling their product organically. The tornado ad strategy, the goal of that is to basically uh like basically do that process but with ads. And so like I know somebody that spent like $500,000 on like non-direct response ads, like not even conversion ads, just like content ads, where they basically took all of his TikToks um, and like put it up into Ads Manager, and they're just spending a couple bucks a day on each creative, and like it basically like just creates such a massive pool of people that you can retarget that have seen your content before, and like you sort of like you're winning their trust, and then you hit them with like direct ads that are going to a calling page or some sort of low ticket thing. And I just thought that was super interesting because like a lot of people think that if you sort of like burn out your organic audience, then you're kind of done. And I've seen that happen with a lot of people where they do burn out their organic audience and they can't really sell anything anymore.
Yeah.
But if you've had success with organic in the past and you just use the same methods that got people to buy organic with paid, people tend to do really well. I wish I could like share more on like what exactly it is, but I just thought it was interesting. And so like there's before I continue, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so to recap, the way that I understood it, right, is people that have a backlog of content, they basically do they pick like their winners, or they just pick as much of their content as possible, and then they run 100 or 250 or 500 different ads at any given time, spending a few bucks a day. Is that kind of the overview?
Yeah. Um, and I thought it was cool because like a lot of people like when they go to run ads for their like personal brand thing, like a coaching program or a course or something, they don't exactly like you can't just go like cold ad to like a sale
Yeah.
for like a 497 or something like that. Like if you're gonna run ads to your email thing, it wouldn't make sense to do um like just straight to the 700 thing that you have because that's a little bit expensive. But if you were to like just have okay, so you have like 100,000 people on Twitter or something like that.
Yeah.
If you can reach like hundreds of thousands of eyeballs with like basically the content you've already shared that's like won people over before, just like with paid, um, it creates like basically a whole new audience for you. It's kind of interesting the way it goes.
And is the ultimate goal like of that first stuff to get them to follow you, or is it just to get them to have like the awareness of who you are, whether they follow you or not, and then retarget the people that have seen like a few different types of ads with something that gets them to take action?
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's just a retargeting funnel.
Okay.
And like I've realized that that's kind of like how a lot of these like OG info guys got famous. Like Alex Hormozy got famous because people kept seeing his face in ads,
Yeah.
and then he got a YouTube channel and then all that other stuff. Same with like Tony Robbins and like Ty Lopez and who's that other guy, Jason something. But like that, I think we talked a while ago about like how you can kind of like buy fame, and that's like kind of how people are doing it. I just thought that was cool. I'm gonna try and find like resources of like maybe Jeremy talking about the tornado thing. I don't know if it's reserved for like just his like students, but I thought it was cool. I'm gonna end up trying it. We've been running ads, me and Griff, for a couple weeks now. Actually, wait, let me just tell you this.
Dude, I keep seeing your ads. I keep seeing them like sponsored in like the story. I also see them too, which I've never noticed before. Is like I don't spend much time there on the Instagram Explore. I keep seeing like your sponsored videos in the Instagram kind of Explore area, which is interesting. I don't know if that's like a placement that you chose or if that's just kind of where it's being seated, but I've been seeing a lot of your ads. I'd say probably a couple times a week lately.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, then it must be working. So we've
Yeah.
spent 5,500 since June 6th,
Okay.
and to date, like since then, we've made back $25,112.
So it's been a couple weeks. You spent 5 grand and you're at about like a 5x essentially.
Yeah.
Insane, dude.
Isn't that crazy?
Insane. So like
So if
for
we
you, it's just like just keep scaling until you get to the place where like you reach critical mass. Like what's the game plan?
keep on going, man.
Cool.
Keep on going. The whole plan, the thing that I have in my head is like, if we can get 10,000 people, even just outside of the like 1,200 that we've already gotten at $5,000, that's 50 million. So
Jeez.
like, can we make 50 million? I think so. 10,000 people, that's doable.
Dang. All
Yeah,
right. Well,
over 2 or 3 years.
can't wait for you to report back on that. Sick.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. Okay, second thing. This is like more of a collaborative one. I want to talk about like the downsides of these personal brand businesses. Because we both have them. We both, have businesses that require our personal brands. Um, and it looks flashy and it looks cool and it looks like it's sort of like low fulfillment and low effort and stuff. But I mean, there are downsides to it. I'm curious if like you have thoughts on this first, because I just talked for like it felt like 20 minutes. But what do you think are some of the downsides of like having a business like this where it relies on your face?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll start by saying I think they're primarily upsides, but obviously everything has downsides. So I'm more bullish on having the personal brand than not, just because of the 101 reasons why it's important. I think the downside's a couple of things. One, I don't know if you've been checking out Twitter lately, but I see a lot of stuff going on with like Nick Huber, the sweaty startup guy. Some like some anonymous account basically is like attacking him and just saying things that seem to be untrue. So I think like because he's built his personal brand so big, he really kind of has put himself in the line of fire of people that just want to like attack him personally and kind of credibility. And I don't know if he was saying like he's had like threats or he was worried about like his family's safety, but I think like that's one concern. And even like with Iman, for example, I know he has to have security on him. He obviously is like larger than life at this point. I haven't had those kinds of issues, but I think like as you get big enough and depending on kind of what you say and who loves you or who kind of hates you. I think there are some kind of scary, I guess, privacy and kind of well-being concerns of like, are you a target? And again, I don't know too many people that have had that target on their back in a way that's like life harming or kind of, life
Mm-hmm.
threatening. But I think that's like kind of the extreme. I think the second one is like if you're building a business to sell that's dependent on your face, I think it's kind of hard to do so. It's going to have to be a lot of untangling. You're going to probably spend a lot of time on an earnout, a lot of time still being involved. So I think it's hard to sell a business that's dependent on Cardinal Mason or Chase or whoever it might be, unless you've done a great job at removing yourself from being the face over time. So I see like some big YouTubers now are creating either A, like faceless channels, or B, a channel that has rotating guests. So that way it's not the dependency on one single person. There's like 4 or 5 or 7 different hosts that kind of rotate. And obviously people probably have their affinity towards one of them. I think additionally too, like for me, like I was out of town at this wedding over the weekend, and I really wasn't on my phone much, but it made me kind of anxious. Like, oh shoot, like if I don't post to Twitter or LinkedIn, or if I don't send an email, like I'm not going to make money that day, or I'm not going to get followers, or I'm not going to get impressions. So it made me a little bit anxious. And again, some of that could be like, hey, just have a team help run the channel type of a thing. So that's pretty easy. But those were like kind of the initial ones. It's like the potential harm and kind of death threats for the extremes, the inability to potentially sell the business, or maybe the multiple is just really low because the dependability on yourself is really high. And I think the last one is like you always have to be sharp and on, and you always have to if you're kind of trying to build a long term personal brand. I think you always kind of have to be a little bit tame and mild. You can't have like an off moment where you say something that can get you canceled. So I think you always have to be like on your best behavior and kind of a little bit on edge. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Dude, I mean, a lot of the stuff that you touched on is what I was thinking. I also didn't think about the Nick Huber thing. I saw that. I was gonna make it a topic, but the only reason I didn't is because of the name of the Anon account. Do you know who
I
like
I saw this LP something. I don't know the name. I don't know if we should say it, but I saw it was something, and then I keep seeing now all these allegations about that person that's behind it. So just kind of crazy. And I've only seen kind of the headline, so I don't know the whole story, but I definitely
people
feel
were
bad for Nick
claiming
based off what I know.
people were claiming that like okay, so it was like a $25 million acquisition, and then people were claiming that he didn't actually put any of his own money in. I think that's what they were saying. And I don't know. Dude, all that stuff is like a little bit strange to me where it's like people are like pro business and then as soon as they see someone with like a personal brand with an audience that has a business, they like get all weird about it and just call
Yeah.
people a grifter.
Yeah.
It's like how is that like if you're using personal brand marketing to grow a business that's legit, then why like how is that a bad thing? We had a conversation a long time ago about like the ethics of like selling courses basically.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people think that like you're just kind of selling air, so they don't think it's fair. But there are like established businesses that sell courses like Skillshare,
Yeah.
yeah, Skillshare, Coursera,
Udemy, Coursera, yeah.
yeah,
These are like, they're worth I think billions, some of these companies.
yeah, Masterclass, like all those are all courses, and nobody ever says that oh they're grifters.
Bro, it's the
I
same
don't
thing
know,
as
it's very
college.
strange.
It's like college is a accumulation of courses. And I think some people have said, "Oh, college is a scam mainly because of what you pay," but like the mass, kind of the majority of people don't really say like college is grifters. I think obviously the narrative's changing a little bit. I think it's gotten worse and people are feeling more that way now. But it's like we are basically online establishments of education that have specific actionable skill sets that we're teaching to help people become better. So I think it's
Mhm.
almost like in the same vein of like getting an education, but it's way cheaper. And if you pick the right instructor, the course is way more actionable than anything you learn in school.
Yeah, dude. Do you think college is a scam? Are you in that camp?
No, I don't think college is a scam. I'm happy I went to college. I loved it. In hindsight, like, am I using anything I learned from college? No, not really. Um, could I have been making probably more money and been further along in my career if I had just gone straight into what I'm doing now? Probably. Um, is college really expensive and I think overpriced? Yes. So I don't think college is a scam. I'm happy I went. It was great. But I don't know like what that's gonna look like for my children. I think that's more of like what I'm thinking about is like, what does this look like in 15 years? Um, is it gonna be the same? I don't know. And that's kind of where I have some question marks. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I did drop out, but I don't think college is a scam. I think like it's you it is overpriced, yeah, but you get a piece of paper at the end that gets you a lot more than you like wouldn't otherwise have access to. I have always maintained the fact that I've never like lost out on an opportunity because I don't have a degree.
Yeah.
Like even when I started working for Structured for you guys, like I, you know, did multiple interviews with your team and nobody ever asked like, "Hey, do you have a degree?" Like nobody
Right.
ever seemed to care. Nobody ever really gave a shit. I even told your partner that I was going to drop out if you hired me, which I ended up doing. Um, so I don't know. I feel like I think it really is good for the social aspect. I feel like
Yes.
there's a lot of people that I know that like were homeschooled and then like didn't go to college and are like kind of strange. I think like it really socializes you properly if you're, you know, if you get to be around a bunch of people your age and like have those experiences. Otherwise, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I missed out on by dropping out.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot that you made up for by dropping out, right? I think like, I mean, how long did you spend? Like a year and a half, 2 years in college?
uh, from like September 17 to like April of 2020. But I would have graduated like May or June of 2021. And then I wouldn't have actually gotten a job until like later that year. And so, but in that like 18-month period between like dropping out and when my entire cohort graduated, I'd already made like a couple 100,000. Like I was good, you know what I mean? So I think, and I had so much experience and I had started a career I was going in, and like
Yes.
the gap just gets bigger and bigger every year. So like that's another thing too is like, yeah, it kind of does put you behind. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for someone like you, and I think like, did Ben ever graduate?
No, he dropped out too.
Okay, I mean, for like you guys are probably the best case study example that I've seen of just like finding the online education, learning what you need to learn, and just running with it. Um, yeah, I can only imagine like had I not gone to college, how farther along I would have been. But you never know, right? I think it was different when I went to college versus how it is today. I don't know. Even though it's only
Yeah.
been, I guess I graduated college like almost 10 years ago at this point, which is insane. Yeah,
Damn.
crazy.
Damn, Chase. Okay. Yeah, no, I think the only thing I wanted to add is like about the personal brand thing, like the downsides to it. Going back to that. So there's this one personal brand that I've been following. It's a girl and she teaches sales. I'm not gonna name drop her because I don't know. But she's grown like crazy in the last like I feel like 4 or 5 months she's gained like 120,000 followers on Instagram. Like it's wild. And people love her. Like people would die
Wow.
for this chick. And what I've noticed is that like as soon as she saw that momentum, she jumped on it and hasn't missed a day. Like she's like always active on stories. She's posting multiple reels a day. She's like posting pictures, like updating people like on her life. And like she has a program and everything, but it's like she's a full-time content creator basically now. Like all day. Like it's a 6 hour a day thing. And like 6 hours of content creating are is not the same of like 6 hours of like writing copy or doing
It's
spreadsheets or something
exhausting.
like quiet work. It's a lot, bro. Like even just a 30-minute podcast that we do usually feels like I go to the gym after I gotta like sort of recover. I sit in the sauna for a little bit because it's just like you're just brain dumping. And so people that like do that all day, like it's crazy. So that is kind of the downside where it's like once you realize you're a full-time content creator and you can't get off the like hamster wheel,
Yes.
it's a little bit like a little scary because you can't let it go. I've let it go before and it's really hard to get back to where you were if you like aren't consistently posting and people kind of like forget about you. You really have to like grind to like be recognized again. So
Yeah, I equate it to like going to the gym. I feel like once you're in the flow of going to the gym and you don't miss days. And then as soon as you start to miss a day and you miss another day, and getting back on kind of the treadmill or getting back on the bike to start working out again, takes a lot more force and kind of friction than it would have if you just stayed on. And I think the
yeah,
content creation obviously is a little bit more drastic because there's people that are like wondering what's going on with you and are you okay? And
yeah,
it's just weird. But yeah, I completely agree with that.
yeah. Dope. Okay, last topic. I kind of want to like brainstorm out loud. Okay, so I don't know what happened to you, Chase, but you all of a sudden had this like crazy hunger to like have the biggest podcast in the world. And like we've been doing this for over a year now, and it's kind of just been like a fun thing for us to do. You know what I mean? Like we're just hanging out, kicking it. And I just thought I never expected it to like, go crazy viral or anything like that. Like it's just two dudes kind of kicking it. We didn't really put much effort into it. And then slowly you started like kind of putting the pieces together. You were like, all right, let's actually put thumbnails on these videos. I was like, that's a great start. And then like we started getting them edited. We started recording properly instead of just on Zoom. And then now you're like really trying to like push this stuff and you have some ideas on like what you want to do. I feel like if we're gonna do it, we might as well talk about it on the podcast, a little build in public kind of thing. Like, what are you thinking right now? Number one, why are you so motivated to push this thing really hard? And two, what are you planning on doing?
Yeah, great questions. One is I've become a lot more interested and bullish on video. I think I've told you this before, either on or off the podcast. I think like video right now is the most important medium. I think writing's cool. Obviously, love newsletters, love written platforms. But I think video is so important, like the ability to connect with the audience and it really to feel like this intimate relationship and be known well. Video is hands down the best one. So like I'm really bullish on video, but I really hate making videos by myself, right? So I'm like, we're already doing this. You got a good personal brand. I got a good personal brand. I feel like the content that we're talking about is really actionable and relevant and relatable. I was like, we might as well just put a little bit more effort into what we're already doing versus me having to go create like 50 videos a week. It's just not going to happen. So I think like I want to just take advantage of the medium in which we're already doing video on just to get more juice out of it. I think that's one. Two, now that we kind of have other people working with us, Steven on the thumbnails, and kind of James on the editing. I kind of feel like, I have some accountability, right? I feel like these other guys are really hustling and helping us. We might as well take this really serious. So our work and their work is seen by more people. And three, like, I'm just tired of like this not being a big podcast, and it's solely because we haven't put in the work. So I think like those three things in tandem, like really is kind of like lighting the fire for me. What are your thoughts? Like, should we keep chilling? Should we put the gas pedal to the metal? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it makes sense for you, right? Because if you're trying to have more of a video presence, like this would be the place to do it. It does make sense. Um, I think like our product is good. I think it's pretty entertaining podcast, depending on what we talk about. Like last week, that was a banger. Did you end up checking like the final view count, but like before we went in?
I think we were at like 1,600 views, and I think we were at like 150 likes and comments each. So
Nice.
pretty good engagement.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And we gave away a couple courses. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Announced the
Um,
winners yesterday. You gave one person copy MBA. I gave someone the client acquisition course, and I actually did something on LinkedIn as well where I gave a few away. So those people won, and it was kind of a cool thing. I'm just like, wow, like we can kind of get a little creative, and it just like got like the creative juices going of like, how can we gamify this? Like, how can we make people engage and want and watch this because it's going to benefit them, and then by them being benefited, it benefits us. So I'm just trying to find like these win-wins, and also I was like, dude, we should do a giveaway because the people
mhm.
that want to watch this could benefit from the content plus the giveaway.
Yeah. I think one thing we should be doing more of, which I don't think we've ever done, is like have guests on. Like that's literally how podcasts grow. Is like you bring on guests. Like that's how every podcast in history has ever, gotten that. But you bring on someone with a little bit more clout than you, and then they can kind of push it to their audience, and like people start like going to you. And like, because I was also thinking like, what's like our shtick? Like I don't know. My First Million is like two dudes who have had successful startups and like kind of break down businesses. Like it's basically just an audio version of trends.
Yeah,
Um, and then like that's pretty much the only business podcast I listen to. But like
same.
for us, like should we have a shtick or should we just be like the two cool guys that just like talk about business and like sometimes have guests or like um I don't know. I think like that's a solid first step. I feel like also like
Yeah.
we've been doing it for over a year. We haven't really run out of stuff to talk about, but like we'd have so much more to talk about if we had one other personality thrown in the mix.
Yeah, I think we should
Right.
clip this and have everyone drop a comment on who we should have on the pod. It'd be great to kind of crowdsource and see who people want to learn from and who we kind of should interview. So maybe we'll get a clip of us saying that and drop it on social and get someone to tag a bunch of people. That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about our stick. You're right. Like the way that I think about this every week is I'm glad that we have this 30, 45-minute chat so you and I can kind of stay close and catch up and just chat about things on our mind, and kind of the byproduct of our conversation is recording it and getting to share that for the few and far between that actually want to listen. And I get DMs and messages from people that I actually admire that listen to this. So I'm like, oh wow, like the fact that like people I admire and respect are listening to this and text me about it makes me feel like we should do more of it. um I guess like when I
We should
think
have
about,
Nick Huber on.
yeah, yeah, we should have him on, huh? That'd be
Can we get
cool.
him?
Yeah, I've texted him before. We kind of were helping each other back in the day a little bit on LinkedIn. I haven't talked to him in a couple months, but we could try that. um
Yeah. I mean, it could be like a press release, like the truth about Nick Huber.
the
We'll
truth.
clear the air. We'll make him we'll make it clear that he has done nothing wrong and that we're actually both big fans and he's a good person.
Heck yeah, that sounds great. I think like our stick, and I think the people that like would make sense to have on are folks that are building personal brands. I think that's one that we're both doing. I think having folks on to talk about like how do you actually build a personal brand and how do you actually grow on social. I think we both obviously have a love and shared interest around like email marketing, copywriting. So maybe bringing on some really interesting people that are doing some cool stuff in that space. We both obviously have courses and newsletters. So I feel like the social media, the courses, the newsletters, the actionable stuff, I think that's really interesting. I also think like we have this interesting dynamic where I live vicariously through you. You're just Mr. Jet Setter, and I've got two kids, and I'm very like homebound. So I feel like it's kind of this, I don't know, this forecasting and kind of like this, you know, if I was to be in your spot in the past, I'd probably be doing what you're doing. And then I think I'm kind of living your future life. So it's almost like
Mm-hmm.
this foreshadowing type thing, and kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of this interesting parallel that we have between like, if I was a 25, 24-year-old that was crushing it, I'd probably be doing what you're doing. And, in the next 3 to 5 to 7 years, you're probably going to be doing what I'm doing, but maybe with
You
your
know
own
what's
spin.
interesting? You know what's interesting? It used to be like even funnier because now, I mean, I'm 25, bro. Like I'm getting up there. Like I'm kind of old now, but like when you and I used to hang out or call each other or whatever, and I was like 21 or 22, and you were like still basically where you're at now, it was like, what do these two dudes even have in common? Like, what do they actually talk about besides Twitter? Like, it was just kind of funny because like I was such a degenerate. I've slowed down quite a bit. I haven't been to the club in like a month, bro.
A
It's
month.
been a long time.
Yeah, Jimmy Kim always texts me saying like, "Dude, you and Mason are like big bro, little bro." Not that like I'm big broing you or you're little broing me, but like
No, I get it.
just the back and forth is really funny of just like two very similar but different kind of mindsets. But so it's interesting. Um,
Let's get Jimmy Kim on here, bro.
Jimmy would be fun. He'd be fun. Obviously, you'd probably have to get Nick Shack on. I think there's a lot of interesting people that we could get on. So maybe we get into like a one out of every couple. We bring on a guest, some fan favorites. And then I think the last thing on this topic that I was thinking about is like, trying to go live with some of these. So, we were thinking about doing like a Twitter live. I'd love to tap into like the LinkedIn audience and do like a LinkedIn live and wanting to do one of those. I don't know if like Facebook live or Instagram live. I don't know like what platforms we can stream to, but I think we can really get like a really diverse, broad audience that will watch live. Obviously, right, we want people to watch on YouTube because that helps push it into the feed, which is really kind of, I think, our growth engine. But I'd love to get just more like juice out of like what we're already doing because it's like we're doing it and we're spending our time. And this is literally the one thing I do every week. Like I can't remember the last time I've been on a phone call other than this. It's like maybe one every 3 to 4 weeks.
That's crazy. That's like such a privilege that you get to go without calls. That's wild.
Yeah, it's nice.
But yeah, man, I agree. And I think next week will be really good. We'll have something really cool to talk about. And it's gonna be valuable. It's not just gonna be two cool dudes chilling. It's gonna be like real stuff that you could probably take with you. And so I think we should do a live. I think we should have like people gather around the campfire and listen to us kind of talk our shit. It'll be good.
Sick. Heck yeah, this was a great one. I love this one.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, buddy. Thank you for watching or listening. Comment on YouTube. Go comment something. Should we do another giveaway? Should we do that every week?
Sure, let's do it. We got a lot of stuff to give away.
I lose nothing from giving some young person in need a copy of my course or like your
Feel
course.
the
I'm down
same.
to do it again.
Let's do it.
Go comment. Keep commenting until you get Copy MBA for free and Chase's course.
Heck yeah, I love
All
it.
right.
Let's do it.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.
Cheers.